Hi, NYSOA family. We are here today with Nick Balcer to chat a little bit about his MLS debut in 2020. Thanks, Nick, for coming.
Thanks for having me on.
So before we kind of get into the game, can you tell our NYSOA family at home kind of how your referee officiating career got started and, when did you begin? Kind of how did you move up through the ranks? And then we'll kind of talk about how you got into college.
Yeah, so funny enough, actually, I think right here I've got a picture that I recently found that's just sitting on my printer of me back in like 2003 holding an AR being a club linesman. So that's, to be honest with you, kind of how I got my career started was in the early 2000s. I would volunteer as an assistant referee on my younger brother and sister's games for ASO because they needed club linesmen, and I thought it was a really cool thing. And then from there, it kind of turned into people told me, like, you can get certified and do games and get paid for it, and I kind of followed that track. And so I did what back then used to be a 3-day course when you got certified through US Soccer. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, took the test and started to do games at my local park. I wasn't old enough to drive, so my mom would drop me off, and I'd work 2-3 games on the Saturday morning, and then go home. And it was kind of cool, like being a young kid and getting to do that. And really just kind of kept progressing with it, doing higher level games. Eventually got invited to things like State Cup and different tournaments. And then when I was in college is when I first joined NYSOA back in 2012. And got the opportunity to do those games, and really just kind of stuck with it, doing as many games when possible, traveling. And then made my way into the Pro 2 group now is what it's called. And then got the phone call last year to do my first MLS game. So pretty cool journey. Just kind of stuck with it the entire time. Just a lot of different opportunities have always presented themselves, and that's got to take the most of that. So
Yeah, Nick, I think we need to see the photo again.
Yeah, so June of 2003. That's still when I had glasses. That's still when the flags were kind of like the wooden handle with the shoestring tied to them. But I'm in just a pair of tennis shoes in the rut that's on the line, and just having fun. So.
Oh, you might have to track that flag down and send it over to Director of Education, Corey Rockwell, for him to use, because it might be the matching one to his yellow that he has and uses on his TikTok videos.
Yeah, I don't know if I've still got this, but I'll see if I do.
Okay, yeah, Corey, look for a shipment from Nick to add to your collection. Well, cool. So let's kind of dive right into, the exciting moment. Where were you when you got the call about your debut?
So it was the Sunday before the game, the game was on a Saturday. So the very previous Sunday, I was actually in a restaurant with 2 buddies of mine in Frisco, Colorado. I had just gotten done on like a 7.5-hour hike up in the Rocky Mountains. And I get a phone call from a New Jersey number that I didn't have saved in my phone, and it happened to be Mark Geiger. And so I kind of let it go to voicemail because I'm like, I don't know who this is the first time. And then all of a sudden I get a text of, Nick, you need to call me. And it says Mark. And so I thought, well, I better return the phone call if Mark's calling me. So I gave him a phone call back, and then he was like, hey, can you come out to LA for, a game the very following Saturday? And I was still supposed to be in Colorado for the whole week. And so and it was a vacation. So I adjusted my travel and told him I'd be available for the match. And so that's kind of how I got the news. And it's just kind of funny, but yeah.
Finishing the vacation. So it sounds like you weren't quite done with vacation yet. How many more days? Like, did you cut it like a day short? Did you cut it like a week short? Kind of how did that all happen?
So I was actually supposed to be in Colorado until the following Saturday, just hiking all week long with a couple buddies, one of my buddies best friends from high school. And It was one of those where I needed to get back home because I didn't want to wear myself out, obviously being up at elevation, doing a bunch of hiking, a couple of days before a game like that. So very next morning, I was on a plane back to Michigan to, just begin game prep and kind of get ready for it. So really I went from a full week-long vacation to about 3 days. So changed pretty quickly, but I was okay with that given the opportunity that presented itself. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. It doesn't sound like you were too disappointed by that.
No, not at all. I'll definitely be back out in Colorado again at some other time. So.
Nice, nice. All right, so you kind of started to touch on it a little bit that you went back to Michigan to start game prep and kind of prepare yourself for the match. So we're a week out from the game, you get the call. Can you kind of walk us through what the next couple of days look like, how much coffee you drank, all those types of things? For those of you who don't know, Nick is a coffee enthusiast. Is that the word we want to use, Nick?
Yeah, that's good.
Nick is a coffee enthusiast, so he drinks a ton of coffee. And so, we can't leave that out of your game prep. So what kind of walk us through that week?
Yeah, so Monday I fly back to Michigan. And then really I go back into my cycle of if I actually had a game the following weekend. So it's a couple days of game prep, a little bit of sprint work, strength training. For me, I always love jumping on the bike and riding my bike a bit because it's less impact on my knees, keeps my endurance, my heart rate up, stuff like that. So really, it was just going back and kind of resuming whatever my normal training schedule would have been like. Which thankfully it was early enough in the week that I was able to still get whatever would have been my normal training regimen. Yes, coffee is part of that. So yeah, definitely have my coffee, made sure I stay hydrated. But yeah, most important thing was just getting back into a rhythm that I would have normally been used to if I actually had a game on the weekend. So I was able to get back into that pretty quickly. The only thing that was a little different is I had to leave for Los Angeles on Thursday because we had to test the day before the game. So that was a little bit different than arriving either the night before the game. So I was going 2 nights before. So just adding in the extra travel time and stuff like that. But besides that, it still kind of felt like it would have been a normal week before a game.
Yeah. So you arrive in LA on Thursday. Warmer weather?
About the same, actually. It was still pretty warm here in Michigan. And I'd say close to the same. I'm still pretty warm out in LA as well, but fairly similar for that time of year.
Yeah. So you get to LA, kind of walk us through Thursday, Friday, and then we'll get to match day and you can tell everybody how much coffee you drank on match day.
So the one thing that I did was I did spend some time at my office on Thursday morning, and then flew out to LA. And one of the first things that I did after I got off the plane is got to the hotel, and then I went for a run. I always find that working out, even just a small workout or something like that to get moving after a long flight from coast to coast is just an easy way to relax and settle in. I was actually pleasantly surprised. Just the acclimation to the time change was actually not too bad for me. Part of it was because of the fact that I was actually 2 hours west of where I normally am earlier in the week in Colorado. So I actually wasn't even really kind of back to my normal schedule in Michigan. So that definitely helped. But then, just relaxing, grabbing a nice dinner on Thursday, and then Friday morning, get up, get tested, did a normal, the day before a match day prep for me. So a little more running, sprint work, core work, and then, just a lot of stretching out and stuff like that. And then still Friday was a work day for me. So I made sure I got some stuff done with the office, some Zoom calls, things like that. And also actually on Friday, I had a nice conversation with a fellow NYSOA member who is a good friend of mine, Jason White, who is also a pro assistant referee. And we had a good conversation because he just kind of wanted to walk me through expectations and things like that for my first MLS game. And he was a really big help in doing that. And then same thing, Friday night, just have a nice dinner and relax. Don't like to be going out and doing, anything crazy. It's just relaxing and staying in routine is the most important thing. And then, yeah, Saturday's match day. So, woke up, got stretched, had breakfast like I normally would every single day. I did sit in the hot tub for a little bit that
Coffee?
morning. What?
Coffee?
Plenty. Went and found a great coffee shop just down the road. Also got a pregame coffee. But yeah, just stayed relaxed. Read my book for a bit. Day was really really nice day outside. Had lunch with the rest of the crew. So yeah, just a very relaxed atmosphere, which is kind of what I would like and everybody else likes. So yeah.
Nice, nice. And so who was your crew for that match?
So for that game, it was Ted Ungle was our referee, and then Jeremy Hansen was AR1. I was AR2, and then Misha Radchuk was the fourth official. Ricardo Salazar was the VAR, and then Katie Nesbitt was the AVAR for the game.
That's quite a crew you had there.
Pretty fun for your first game, that's for sure.
Awesome, awesome. So you kind of shared with us your journey to the match. What would be the one thing you'll never forget from whistle to whistle on the game?
Being in the pandemic year that we were in a 26,000 seat stadium, and there's no fans. There are cardboard cutouts everywhere. There's crowd noise being pumped in. There's a video board behind me that's got fake fans that are being shown on through Zoom or something like that. So it was surreal being able to hear the players a lot more than a normal match. I mean, we heard everything that they communicated, and it was a little bit different because normally they've got the crowd to, raise the intensity level of the game sometimes. And they kind of had to rely on themselves a bit more to, self-motivate and get pumped up because they, a lot of these players, they feed off these crowds, whether they're home or they're away. And so it was a little bit different that, I mean, you heard everything that the players were saying. The crowd's not there. It's, it was very different than what you would expect with a large match like that. So that's definitely one of the things, probably one of the most obvious things that I'll take away from is, didn't have the crowd noises, wasn't getting yelled at for at least by the fans, by the players. Yeah, they still say stuff to you, but yeah, that was a very interesting first experience for sure.
Yeah, wow, definitely. Hopefully something we none of us have to experience again as we're kind of moving out of the pandemic. But yeah, I can't imagine what that must have felt like.
Yeah, kind of surreal. I mean, but at the same time, it's still the game that we've all officiated, that we've grown up loving, that we enjoy doing. It's still, world-class players that are trying to compete. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the job is still the same, is to go out there and call a fair match and do our job that we're supposed to. So, it's just kind of the variables outside of that were a little bit different.
Cool. So what's one piece of advice you would give to NYSOA family members that are aspiring to kind of be where you are today?
The one thing that I've always held true, that I was told from a very young age, is just be who you are and be consistent. The thing is like all of us referees that have been in the game for a long time, you end up taking pieces and advice from a lot of different officials that you meet over so many years, because you meet hundreds and thousands of officials over the years, and you're going to get a lot of feedback and pick and choose the things that work for you, because I don't necessarily think there's always a one size fits all for refereeing. All of us have our own different personalities and how we get to certain places. But, as you're doing higher level matches, what's so important to remember is you're there for a reason. And so don't kind of change who you are to try to get better level matches. Obviously make adjustments along the way to try to perfect your game and listen to, the feedback when you get it, but ultimately, stay true to who you are and what got you to wherever you're at currently, and continue to use that to move forward, and adjust along the way. But yes, just stay true to who you are.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. We've all heard you need to be this way or this, you need to be exactly like this referee. And I think, you give some great advice and like, do what got you there. Don't try to jump from assignment to assignment. If you stay consistent, that's going to move you forward because it's your true personality. So that's great. Well, do you have any parting words? Anything else you want to share with the Nisoa family? Anything funny? Anything exciting? Anything inspiring? What else do you have for us, Nick?
I mean, it's the thing is always be prepared for when an opportunity knocks. And I think I like the example of me getting that phone call when I'm on vacation with my schedule blocked too. Like my date showed not available. Just like honestly, be ready at all times during the season. I mean, you never know when you're going to get a phone call to do a big level match or something like that. So mentally, you've got to be prepared at all times, and I think that's so important that when we're in season, you never know when a game's going to be canceled, and especially too now during the middle of this pandemic. I mean, game times are getting changed, and locations are getting changed, and new games are getting added and removed, and officials are switching around and stuff like that. Just always be prepared and ready to go. I mean, if the preparation leads to the preparation off the field leads to success on the field, and so just continue to do that, and yeah, just be ready when your name's called. That's the biggest thing that you can do for yourself to help yourself be successful.
Great, great. Well, thank you, Nick, and we really appreciate it. And I know the Niso family at home is going to be really excited to watch this, and you have a lot of valuable advice that they can learn from. And on a closing note, I think we need to see the photo again.
All right, one more time.
Oh yeah, look at that concentration. Oh yeah, I think we need to see the flag. Oh yep. That's great. All right, thanks, Nick.
Thanks for having me.